Sayın Bakanım,
His Excellency, Mr. Minister, distinguished head of the European Union delegation to Turkey, Mr. Ambassador, and distinguished president of the Central Finance and Contracts Units, and also distinguished representatives of public institutions and civil society organizations, dear press members. I would like to welcome you all to the closing event of the grant scheme for partnerships and networks on strengthening cooperation between public sector and CSOs. Before we start the program, I would like to give you information about the fact that this event is recorded on Zoom. Throughout the meeting, there will be English to Turkish, Turkish to English, simultaneous interpretation support. In order to hear the event from Turkish, please click on the language from the interpretation option at the bottom of your screen. The grant scheme for partnerships and networks on the strengthening cooperation between public sector and CSOs is under the civil society support program that is implemented by the Directorate of EU Affairs. So with 10 projects that are implemented under this program, the objective was to improve and strengthen the cooperation between the public sector and civil society organizations and increase the institutional capacity of the civil society organizations. So civil society support program is co-financed by the European Union and the Republic of Turkey, and the contracting authority of the program is the Central Finance and Contracts Unit. So I would like to give the floor to Dr. Hakan Ercök, the president of the CFCU, in order to make the opening speech of the program. His Excellency, Mr. Minister, distinguished head of the delegation of the European Union to Turkey, and distinguished representatives of the public institutions and CSOs, and distinguished participants, on behalf of the Central Finance and Contracts Unit, I would like to extend my greetings to each and every one of you. As you know, in the membership process of Turkey to European Union, the most important priority was to improve the capacity of the civil society for more active involvement in society, strengthening the civil society and strengthening the fundamental rights and freedoms, and to improve cultural exchange and dialogue between the European Union CSOs and Turkish CSOs, and local, regional, national CSO and public sector partnerships to be strengthened. Also, in common fields of activity, strengthening the bonds between the CSOs in Europe and Turkey are the main objectives. To this end, in the 2014 country action program of Turkey, partnerships and networks between CSOs were emphasized in order to strengthen the cooperation between the public sector and CSOs. So, in order to strengthen the cooperation between public sector and the CSOs, networks and partnerships, a grant scheme is one of those programs, and that will be finalized very soon. Of course, in the preliminary preparation and assessment process of the grant scheme, 4.3 million euros was the budget for 10 projects, grant projects. So the activities of 7 projects that were granted, the contracts were finalized, and 2 projects have been finalized, and for the remaining 8 projects we are getting towards the end of the implementation process. Through this grant scheme, in policy development and decision-making processes, more active and democratic participation of CSOs was aimed, and also the cooperation between the public sector and CSOs was strengthened. Among the activities that ensure that change include websites and digital tools development, and development of the guides needed, and publication and printing of the training modules, and also cooperation to be strengthened with the public sector, and also improving the administrative capacity of CSOs, workshops, conferences with the stakeholders, study visit conferences, seminars, surveys, and roundtable activities are among the activities that are carried out under the projects. Most of these activities have been finalized with great success, and the ongoing activities will be finalized very soon, hopefully. And His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, I would like to mention that as a result of the COVID-19 response measures, some of the remaining activities, had to be finalized online, and also the beneficiaries had to make some modifications in their projects for that purpose. Although the online activities will be carried out, we needed to make an adaptation to the projects, but of course there are some opportunities that will enable availability and accessibility for the activities through online activities. So in this closing event for the grant scheme, I hope that we are going to discuss with the experts regarding the results and outputs of these projects. In addition to our capacity as CFCU, we focus on solutions in cooperation with you and partnership with you, and we try our best in order to find some solutions and respond to your questions. So to conclude, I would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Minister and the Ambassador and the EU delegation to Turkey and the Directorate for EU Affairs for their supports and contributions, and also in the preparation, assessment and implementation of the projects. I also would like to thank all my colleagues who contributed. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank Dr. Ertürk for his opening speech. Now I would like to give the floor the Ambassador of the Head of the European Union Delegation to Turkey, Mr. Nicholas Meyer-Landrut, to make the welcoming speech.
For speaking far away, so I can perhaps speak without the mask here. So, Mr. Deputy Minister, dear Farouk, Mr. Director, dear Mr. Ertürk, dear representatives of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, dear project partners, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to speak at this closing event of the EU-funded grant scheme managed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to CSO Public Sector Cooperation and Partnership. The EU believes that strong and empowered civil society is a crucial component of a vibrant democracy. It represents and fosters pluralism. Engaging with and empowering actors of the civil society is at the forefront of European Union activity. The EU, we work with civil society organizations to protect and promote human rights, democracy, and sustainable development around the world. Enhancing freedom of expression, freedom of association, and participatory democracy are among the main priorities of the EU support to civil society in enlargement countries. The EU continuously provides support to foster safe and open environments for civil society participation in Europe, in enlargement countries, and in our shared neighborhood and around the whole world. To utilize the full potential civil society plays in a participatory democracy, civil society should be free and capable to organize itself, collect opinions, develop responses, express itself on a wide range of issues as a voice of citizens. As described by the European Commission in its 2020 report on Turkey, civil society organizations in Turkey are operating in a challenging context. In addition to a legal environment that does not facilitate access to sufficient funding, the efforts of civil society organizations to participate in local and national decision-making are hampered by the lack of a national strategy that identifies them as a legitimate interlocutor. We understand that Turkey intends to develop such a strategy, and we trust that it will effectively address the limitations CSOs are facing and secure an enabling space for civil society. The grant scheme that brought us together today is part of IPA 2014 Civil Society Support Program that is managed directly by Turkish institutions and co-financed by the European Union and the Republic of Turkey. I'm happy to learn that the Partnership and Networks grant scheme has effectively contributed to strengthening the capacities of CSOs and the networking among them and encouraged their cooperation with the public sector, including at the important level of local governments. The grant scheme provided new opportunities for civil society organizations to overcome cooperation barriers, maintain effective communication and interaction with public institutions. I trust that programs like the ones that brings us together here today are among the most effective tools to support Turkey's advancement as a participative democracy and garner the benefits that civil society can bring to public life and dialogue. Let me end by thanking you all for the efforts that you are putting together with this aim and assure you that support to civil society and dialogue with public authorities, both national and local, will remain a key priority of the European Union delegation to Turkey and to EU-Turkey cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for his remarks. Distinguished guests, for the opening speech, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Faruk Kaymakçı, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Director of EU Affairs. Thank you very much. Distinguished President of the CFCU, Mr. Hakan Bey, distinguished ambassadors, Mr. Nikolaus Meyer-Landrut, and distinguished representatives of the public bodies, and the focal point of our event, distinguished representatives of the civil society organizations. I'd like to extend my greetings to each and every one of you. As you may remember, around 2 years ago, we had the opening event of this grant scheme, and in that meeting, in that opening event, we discussed the contributions of the civil society organization to Turkey's EU accession efforts, and we conducted a survey in that event for that assessment. So today we are going to discuss what has been done so far in the last 2 years since the opening event, and I'm very glad to see the positive impact created by this grant scheme. Of course, the main objective of this program is to strengthen the cooperation and connection between CSOs and the public sector, and also enable the civil society organizations to create their own networks and partnerships, and also in the culture of working together with the civil society organization. We need to also improve and strengthen the capacity of the public sector, and I think that we succeeded that. We really wish that we included more CSOs and more provinces in this grant scheme, but ultimately we have limited resources, and this is our capability with the limited resources, and I think that this has been a very important and very successful pilot grant scheme. So in the last 2 years, many civil society organizations could raise their voices more strongly in many different areas, and a more participatory approach was brought to Turkey. As you may all remember, in the start of our EU accession efforts, we had some hesitations in the public sector towards CSOs. We had some fears in the public sector because CSOs were perceived as the ones that make us tired. But at this point, current point, we can now see that CSOs are owning all these themes and fields, and they provide their own views and contributions for such issues and problems we face. For that reason, they provided important contributions to the lawmaking process in Turkey and also decision-making process in Turkey. We come together, we hold meetings on a frequent basis, and we hear you frequently, and through cooperation in many different fields with you, many decision makers in any field, it may be related to autism, environment, climate change, or many other different themes, participatory approach, human rights, women's rights, while taking the decision makers also consult you for your opinions and views, and they started to take your views into consideration cooperation automatically. So I think that in this field, we attained a great deal of progress in our EU accession efforts. Of course, this grant scheme includes 10 CSOs and the budget is 4.3 million euros. And we hope that this can be extended and enlarged in the new period. I also would like to thank all the CSOs that were involved in this grant scheme. I'm not going to name them one by one because we worked in different activities together and in many different projects, and I'm sure that in the next period for the Civil Society Dialogue Program and Civil Society Support Program, they started their preparations and they are following the calls very closely, and we are very glad to see that. As you may remember, we conducted a survey 2 years ago and we asked you what do you think about the European Union, and your view was important for us, your perspective was important for us, and 80% of the respondents to that survey said that Turkey had to become a member of the European Union and the EU membership would be very beneficial for Turkey. And on the other hand, in Turkey's EU accession process, we underlined that Turkey had to take some more steps, further steps, and I hope that in the next period we can achieve all those targets together. And of course, now on the agenda there is a hot debate about the sanctions to be imposed on Turkey on the 10th or 11th of December. The European Union will take important decisions. Turkey always favored development, dialogue and negotiation. Of course, just because our neighbors became a member to the European Union, when they use their membership rights against Turkey, it will not be to their favor and it will not be to the favor of the common interest of the European Union, and they will not contribute to the solution of the problems we face. So if you want to solve the Cyprus problem and the Aegean problem and the Eastern Mediterranean issues, we need to have positive mindset and we need to take steps to restore trust between these countries. I hope that this approach will be adopted very soon. And by the way, your role is also very important, both in Turkey with the civil society organizations in Turkey and also with the civil society organizations in the European Union countries. Your common work will ensure that we can improve the trust to Turkey in Turkey, because there are some unjust and negative perceptions against Turkey. So your role is very important to change such approaches and perceptions. And I believe that civil society's ownership of EU accession process is the most important capital that Turkey has, and Turkey wants to move in this direction, and CSOs want to move in this direction, and I believe that this objective can be achieved very successfully. And we will work together in the next period, IPA 3 period. It will start in 2021. Civil Society Support Program Phase 3 will start, and also Civil Society Dialogue Program Phase 6 will start. And you will follow the calls very closely. Bülent Bey, Hakan Bey, Hakan Atik and Hakan Ertürk will make some announcements for the next period, and we will try to be with you, stand by you. Also, we will continue to stand by you, and we believe that European Union, the directors of the European Union Affairs is the leading authority in this area, but also the EU delegation to Turkey in recent years started directly implementing civil society support programs. Of course, direct implementation culture is not well adopted in our culture, so it is not participatory. Instead of direct management or administration, indirect or participatory approach is preferred in Turkey. So I hope that the European Union delegation, upon the decision of the European Commission in this direction, will not be involved directly alone in these projects, but I hope that they will involve us and the Directorate for EU Affairs in order to enable it to provide further contributions. Finally, we will get greater success, I believe. So initially, civil society organizations what they were not was discussed, of course, in all societies and communities. As I mentioned before, initially, even the public bodies and states establish civil society organizations in order to foster this culture and strengthen this culture. But of course, in Turkey, we have now a real sense of civil society culture, and these civil societies, most of the civil society organizations in Turkey do not need any support from the state anymore. So we hope that the culture of civil society organizations will be further fostered with the support of the Directorate of EU Affairs in Turkey and also the EU delegation to Turkey to make it more effective, hopefully. And in this regard, we will also welcome and thank in advance the cooperation of the EU delegation to Turkey and also European Commission. And also, as CSOs, when you are involved in several projects, it will be very important and valuable for our strategy of communication with the European Union. So you can learn what the European Union is. Also, you can promote this in your own areas. You can raise the awareness of people, citizens, and local governments about the European Union. This is very important for us. On the other hand, your counterparts in the European Union countries, you also carry out some activities, joint activities, through which you raise awareness about the importance of Turkey for the rest of the European Union countries, and also you raise awareness how it will be very important to contribute to the welfare, democracy, rule of law, human rights, environment, climate, when they work with the Turkish CSOs. For that reason, such joint activities are very precious for our communication strategy as well. And I also would like to note that we see you as the ambassadors of communication in the eye of the public in the European Union and Turkey. So we would like to see you all in the further projects. I hope that we can hold face-to-face meetings in the future. I see on my screen Çiğdemim Association. If Çiğdemim is from my neighborhood, I'm going to make a positive discrimination to that association. Of course, I'm just kidding, but we will welcome and embrace all civil society organizations and associations. I'd like to congratulate you all for their active involvement. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Distinguished participants and distinguished guests, now we will continue with the session on the achievements of the grant scheme on partnerships and networks. Now I would like to give the floor head of the project implementation department of the directors of EU Affairs, Mr. Hakan Atik, in order to make the presentation. Over to you.
Sayın Bakanım,
His Excellency, Mr. Minister, distinguished head of the EU delegation to Turkey, Mr. Ambassador, and distinguished president of the Central Finance and Contracts Unit, and distinguished representatives of the public sector and civil society organizations. And under civil society support program, around 2 years ago, we started this journey, and today we are closing this event with an online platform. So the grant scheme for partnerships and networks on strengthening cooperation between public sector and CSOs will be finalized as of today. Of course, in our process of negotiation with the European Union, the importance of civil society, our value we attach to civil society, and the activities and efforts of the Directorate for EU Affairs will be summarized to you in this presentation. Also, I'm going to present to you the achievements of this grant scheme briefly. As you all know, after the membership negotiations started for Turkey, our activities for civil society was adopted from a more systematic approach. Till 2014, the Directorate for EU Affairs use different sorts of financial resources for the civil society organizations, just like the other organizations and institutions, and we implemented various schemes and programs for that, and we accumulated the experience, also the achievements, and we had learned some lessons, and we needed to adopt a new approach. So IPA 2 from 2014 to 2020 had a more sectoral approach in order to allocate the funds. So just like in the individual sectors such as environment, transport, agriculture and energy, civil society was also adopted as a subsector and defined as a subsector. And the leading organization for this sector, just like in our practices, as a result of the practices for the civil society, became the Directorate for EU Affairs. This responsibility was assigned to the Directorate for EU Affairs. And of course, we have more systematic, holistic and micro approach. So we carried out different consultations, meetings in order to identify the needs of the civil society areas and the themes and areas of their needs in order to allocate the European Union financial funds to the civil society organizations. And what the achievements are, we observed that the priorities identified under civil society support programs, such as capacity building of CSOs and strengthening the cooperation between public sector and CSOs, and legal improvement of the legal framework for civil society organizations. And as of 2008, we have been regularly implementing the town twinning and civil society dialogue program for civil society organizations. And of course, we also wanted to ensure the active involvement of civil society organizations in decision-making processes at local, regional, and national level. We wanted to strengthen their capacity. And also, we wanted to improve their advocacy and management, networking, and communication skills.
So with this grant scheme, we set off the journey. 2 years ago, we kicked off this program and supporting local CSOs and also improving capacity and activities to support their capacity, the technical assistance project for development of civil society and for strengthening the relations between public institutions and CSO, and also partnerships and networks grant scheme are among the components that we had within this overall program. So today, I'm going to talk about the achievements of this program, partnerships and networks. As I previously indicated, the main philosophy of this program is to have financially and administratively strong institutions and organizations, and to support networks of these organizations with the public institutions, and strengthen the cooperation between the two types of entities. And we also wanted to improve the capacity of the CSOs. So under the scope of partnership and networks project, we wanted to contribute to these objectives. And we have received some financial support from the EU. And thanks to this financial assistance, we made an announcement for grant scheme, and subsequent to that, 4.3 million euros of financial resources were allocated to Istanbul, Izmir, Antalya, and the 10 projects operational in those 3 provinces. Those 10 projects are going to talk about the activities that they have completed under the scope of the program. They will take the floor, but overall speaking,
fighting against terrorists and terrorist organizations
projects
as well.
concerning women's network in business, networking project for social entrepreneurship, project for disseminating reading culture, community-based organizations and empowering women, autism network, strengthening project. So there are very valuable 10 projects which were implemented over a period of 2 years, and they have been successfully implemented.
There are some recommendations we proposed in the strategic document regarding tobacco and also drug trafficking. I underlined some points which can also be applicable to firearms and ammunition as well. Of course, we need to break down
what we wanted to do, we wanted to improve their knowledge and capacity. And today we can see that we have achieved our objective with the due diligent and successful efforts of our CSOs. 3 laws proposals, 2 policy papers, 1 action plan monitoring, 9 cooperation protocols, and we can include more than 15 activities and 10 networks, more than 800 CSOs and almost 100 public institutions and more than 100 representatives from public institutions have been engaged in a network, and we are happy to give you this information. Capacity development activities is another important component. So we have established some goals and we have some goals as we established, strengthening the capacity so that alignment can be strengthened. So in this framework, more than 200 CSOs and more than 500 representatives participated in capacity development training courses, which were organized, and 17 awareness-raising campaigns were participated by more than 800 people, and more than 1,000 news coverages were prepared. Concerning the awareness-raising campaigns, I'm going to present you some more information at the end of this presentation. And concerning strengthening of linkages between the civil society and the public institutions, various reports have been prepared. More than 10 project beneficiaries are present. Vehbi Koç Foundation focused on a very important area, which we consider as very important as EU presidency. We have some preliminary work for this area, which concerns social entrepreneurship. Vehbi Koç Foundation focused on Turkey Social Entrepreneurship Network, and Foundation for the Support of Women's Work focused on strengthening the capacity of community-based local organizations for participation and advocacy. And there were various cooperation mechanisms established. Turkish Economic Social Studies Foundation established a digital instrument for monitoring. They focused on strengthening civil society for a more democratic local governance. They made a launch of the digital instrument with the Union of Municipalities of Turkey, providing great contributions. White Cane Association for the Visually Impaired from Antalya established a network in order to engage stakeholders for the solution of problems. Turkey Europe Foundation focused on a more active participation of CSOs, and they had a project titled EU Monitoring Network. Tohum Turkey Autism Early Diagnosis and Education Foundation focused on autism in order to raise awareness concerning autism, which is an important aspect, and they implemented very important activities, made initiatives on the parliamentary level, and made some important achievements. And Turkish Publishers Association organized valuable campaigns for promoting reading culture, and we as EU presidency have been glad to participate in those campaigns. Another important agenda item is fighting discrimination, and in order to prevent othering, alienating of refugees and asylum seekers and those under temporary protection was the main point of focus in the Hrant Dinks Foundation project, which titled Towards a New Discourse and Dialogue project. So it is really important that we have been supported by EU in all these efforts. We had K2 Contemporary Art Association, and they focused on establishing network between CSOs and public institutions through Visiting Artists program, which is a good practice. And again, the Women's Entrepreneurs Association of Turkey worked to make women entrepreneurs more visible, presented a law proposal, organized regular meetings for consultation, and in order to increase the number of women entrepreneurs, they have been engaged in very important initiatives. So when we consider all of these initiatives and projects, the project helped to establish a very strong network, as suggested by the name, in 3 provinces, in various local areas, local authorities, the parliament, public institutions, and organizations, the ministries, including the EU presidency, and other institutions have been brought together. And we consider this as one of the most important indications of success for the part of our project, and we hereby would like to present this to your kind attention. The whole world has been impacted by the pandemic, which is the most important problem on the agenda, and the pandemic, of course, had a negative impact on our project activities, just like the other projects and programs, but we also turned that into an achievement because we organized campaigns which arose a lot of interest both in Turkey and Europe, and I'm going to present you some summary briefs. For instance, I have a message for future. We are always home, and we are home reading. So these are the main slogans that we developed in order to reverse the harmful effects of the pandemic. This is the closing event of the Grant Scheme for Partnerships and Networks project, but we will continue being in communication, and you can follow our programs, and our messages can be used for further cooperation. The Twitter account, Facebook account, Instagram account, and YouTube accounts can be used to follow the activities and to follow the activities of the EU presidency, and you can witness the efforts undertaken by EU presidency using the social media accounts. So I would like to show you the brief videos from the campaigns that I gave you information about. And our path towards the European Union, our relationship with civil society and civil society organizations with support from the EU will be taken to a higher level. So our efforts will contribute to that process overall. As EU presidency, we highly appreciate the cooperation undertaken so far. We have gained a lot of experience which will help us in the future. IPA 3 is going to start 2021-27. So in that new period, taking into consideration the needs of the civil society, we are going to undertake initiatives in order to meet the needs of our civil society and civil society organizations aligned with the CSOs in Europe. We prepared project proposals and submitted them to the EU delegation. And if those are accepted, EU presidency, being the lead institution, will have fulfilled its mission. And once those projects start implementation, we'll come into contact with you. And in conclusion, I would like to thank CSOs public institutions, local authorities, universities, development agencies who contributed to the process and supported us. I would like to extend my deepest regards and hereby start the video show.
Küresel salgın sebebiyle herkes
Due to the global pandemic, a lot of people have been in lockdown for a long time. People were experiencing an isolated life, and you gained some new hobbies, and your life is going back to normal. Though with gloves and masks, you can still go out on the streets. You can go to your offices. You can take your children to the parks. So what about families with children with autism? Do you know that those families are already concerned going out on the streets? Their children are excluded and their rights are being limited. And because of that, they have a lot of concerns. These should not be the reason why we can't go abroad. Although everything goes back to normal, we are always home. With your support, we want to be liberated. Hello, my name is Tülin Kozikoğlu. I'm an author of children's books. Today, I'm going to talk about an adult book, Flaneuse, Women Walking on the Street. Author is Lauren Elkin, and flaneur, the etymology is described, and it says that flâner, which is a French verb. And in the first half of 19th century, this word was used and created for someone who is wandering on the streets. Flaneur turned into flaneuse, which is the female version. From London to Venice, it takes us to other cities. So I like definition by Baudelaire. Baudelaire says this is an artist looking for meaning for life on the street. So this is a very good book, highly recommended. I'm home and I'm reading, and I highly recommend you to do the same. Hello, as healthcare officers, ourselves and our family members are going through very difficult times. Fear, concern, and anxiety. We put them all aside and we continue to fight with firm determination. The biggest power we have is the hope, our dreams and love that we have inside. And today can be very difficult, but despite that, in every new day, we are looking for the bright future. You might be stressed, you might be depressed, maybe you missed your loved ones, but believe me, these bad days will be a history soon. Soon will come the days when we can freely go out and hug our loved ones. Please continue supporting us. Stay home. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you very much, Mr. Head of Department, for your presentation. Distinguished guests, the local CSOs grant scheme, and under the scope of grant scheme for partnership and networks, a photo exhibition was organized, and it was exhibited in Ankara Esenboğa Airport until the 9th of November. Now we would like to share with you the photos in the exhibition. distinguished guests, now I would like to invite you to the concert by Zeynep Erkan, the violinist working for the Presidential Orchestra.
Bu keyifli konser için Sayın
We'd like to thank Zeynep Erkan for this pleasant concert, distinguished participants, distinguished guests. Now, under this grant scheme for partnerships and networks on strengthening cooperation between public sector and CSOs, projects had great achievements. We are here to share the achievements of these projects and success of these projects. We will give the floor to each of these projects in order to share what outputs they obtained from this grant scheme, and we would like to hear from them about their journey. Now, I would like to first give the floor to the Turkish Economic and Social Strategies Foundation, Civil Society Strengthening for More Democratic Governance. Good morning, distinguished stakeholders, and welcome. And our project name is Model. I'm the director of TESEV. In Model, we have the City Councils Association and City Municipality, and also Checks and Balances Network. In 10 cities, we would like to ensure democratic cooperation between the municipalities and civil society organizations and use the technologies to do so. In the first year, we made an assessment report was published, and through participatory ways, we've developed some solutions with a participatory approach. All the relevant stakeholders came together, discussed together, learned together, and produced common products. And also e-governance, the test of it was done on a strategic document. For that reason, the model's strategic plan has monitoring, evaluation, and assessment plan. And that website is providing an interactive access. It is more accessible for citizens, but sometimes for the municipalities. So on one hand, monitoring, evaluation, and also on the other hand, municipality and civil society can work together for the activities to be carried out by the municipalities. So in this way, we aim at achieving more democratic governance. We had very positive feedback. We had 10 expectations, but now we have kentimkatilim.org. On the first page, you will see 15 cities, because in the process, 5 more cities were added, as mentioned by Hakan. The Union of Turkish Municipalities hosted the launch event in the last 2 weeks, and after that launch event, new municipalities wanted to be participating in this project. So we exceeded our expectations before it is finalized. So now it can cover all the municipalities, and we already planned infrastructure accordingly. We had some face-to-face activities which were converted into web-based activities, and very different activities, more activities than planned had to be carried out, as you may be aware of that, because it was also beneficial, because on one hand we had webinars, local trainings, thematic training activities. So we received applications from 40 cities, not 10 cities, and also for local governance. There were some expert and specialized individuals. We consulted them, asked the expert sessions, and we also had some video trainings, which was not planned initially, but this will be the heritage of the project. So very comprehensive democratic local governance library was also created in this way. And this is the advantage of the pandemic. These are the bonuses we obtained from the pandemic for the project. And also academics made some publications for this project, although this was not in the project scope. So the local experts in the cities that are involved in the project had some publications. Also, there were other academics which were not in those cities had started their research activities. Also, as regards the cooperation between municipalities and civil society and the local democratic governance, it also inspired many different academics. Also, it enabled the data generation in this field, and also it gave inspiration to different CSOs and new projects. I mean, the report and the website of the model gave inspiration to different CSOs. And also the main purpose was to improve the cooperation with the public sector. We also had collaborations, and the Union of Turkish Municipalities, the presidency, other public institutions were cooperated in this project. And also I'd like to thank the Directorate for EU Affairs under this scope, because especially regarding the public, we had some consultation and cooperation which was facilitated by the Directorate, and their involvement in this process is very important. They put lots of efforts for the success of this project. And also for our further activities with the European Union projects, we really hope that they will be with us and stand by us, support us in our projects. That's what we want greatly. Also, I would like to thank the European Union for their support of civil society and strengthening of the civil society and their investments for democratization, the Directorate for EU Affairs for their facilitation, technical assistance team, and central and local stakeholders, partners, collaborators, participants, and also I would like to thank my colleagues for all their efforts. Thank you. Have a good day.
Benim söyleyeceklerim bu kadar. Zamanımı iyi
This is all
kullandım.
from me. I think I use my time well. If you give me more time, of course, I'll be more willing to speak more. Can you please guide me?
Teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you. The next project is from the Turkish Publishers Association. This platform for disseminating the reading platform, the abbreviation is Okuyarak.
Merhabalar, sesimi...
Good morning. I think you can hear me now. My name is Ebru Şenal from Turkish Publications Association, General Coordinator and the Project Coordinator of Platform for Promoting Reading Culture. And I'd like to extend my greetings to each and every one of you, all the participants, and thank you for your attendance. I'd like to thank especially the Directorate for EU Affairs for their support and also the civil society sector experts and our partners. On behalf of the Turkish Publishers Association, regarding the reading culture, such a grant scheme was provided to us, and I also thank the grant authorities for their support. And reading culture is a matter of development, as we think in this association. For that reason, to implement this project was very important for us. Our objective was through CSOs, activists, and volunteers to promote culture of reading. In 24 months, we had lots of activities, but I would like to focus on the results we obtained. And I would like to give you information about the most important achievements for us and for the society. Especially the name of the grant scheme is Partnerships and Networks. So on behalf of for the sake of culture, reading culture, we enabled a common umbrella and roof for the supporters. So we have the platform for that. And we observed that CSOs and volunteers working in this field needed such a platform for promotion, and everyone was very enthusiastic and willing to cooperate with us. Of course, we did what has not been done so far, because before our project in Turkey for 8 years in a row, no research on reading culture was conducted. This is an important point. It is one of the most important researches for the development of society, and that has not been done for 8 years. But in this project with a research company, we conducted this research and shared the results with everyone, and it grabbed the attention of all the segments of society, because this was relevant to all segments of society. And also we had a map on the CSOs that operated in the field of reading culture. Foundations, CSOs, and associations were mapped. So we brought together all the stakeholders. We had some meetings under OKI. Everyone met each other. Also, they had new cooperation opportunities on digital media. We developed a very comprehensive resource, both on our websites and also on our social media accounts. Even after the project is finalized, everyone can consult that information as a reference material, and we shared this with everyone. And the website is oki.com. You can find all the data on our website. I'm not exaggerating, but we've reached out millions of people because we use the social media very effectively, and we contacted hundreds of thousands of people. And so this was a physical project, but because of the pandemic, as we could not conduct it physically, we accessed and reached out more people than we targeted. Of course, pandemic was not good for the world, but it was we used it as an advantage for our project. In terms of sustainability, I can tell you that in order to make it traditional event of reading, we started our activities. Every year, on the third week of November in Turkey, we want to celebrate the Reading Day, Reading Week. And we started this as Turkish Publishers Associations. More than 10,000 people participated in just 3 weeks. So everyone needed such mobilization. So we are making this announcement. We're going to continue this as a tradition. We hope that the whole society and the public sector can support us and get the ownership of this day, of Reading Day, I mean, in November every year. One of the most important point was what the public sector should do in order to improve and strengthen the cooperation between public sector and CSOs. We have an important meeting tomorrow, and so you are kindly invited to that meeting. What should the public sector do to promote reading culture? We identified the problems, and in the project we had to propose 10 solutions. We did that, and now we have to throw the ball to the public sector. We need to ask them, and we need them to think what they should do in order to promote reading culture. I'm also proud to say an important point as OKI platform in 4 cities. 6 pilot projects were supported for reading culture. Of course, these projects were quite successful. You know that as Publishers Association, we have been implementing EU-funded projects for a long time. When you go to the developed EU countries, you observe the good practices and you try to adapt them or transfer them to Turkey. With these 6 pilot projects, we created our own good practices in Turkey. This is very important. So everyone who wants to develop and implement a project on reading culture, they can use our good practices, and a common platform was established. And I'm making a call to the public prosecutors and private sector in order to get the ownership of these 6 projects so that we can disseminate and scale it up to the entire country, because it provided great contributions to people and children. With OKI platform, it was a milestone for Turkey. So we took the step for a transformation, and a new perspective was created. If it is finalized, it will be very sad and disappointing. For that reason, everyone should get the ownership of OKI platform and should ensure the sustainability of this platform, do their best to ensure their sustainability. Of course, we are going to publish 10,000 booklets, and also this will be published online. This will be a unique source, and it's a great pleasure for us to have it under this project. On the 8th of January, we're going to have the closing conference. I would like to also invite you, and if you want to ask further questions and learn further about our project, you can participate in that meeting, closing meeting of our project on the 8th of January. You are also kindly invited to that meeting. If I have time left, I would like to show a video. I have lots of videos, but because the time is limited, I would like to show you a video about our pilot projects. We have the City Library in Ankara project. We have a video about that project. I can show it if you have time. Thank you very much.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you very much. Now we are going to Izmir. First, we'd like to convey our best wishes to Izmir for the earthquake they had. K2 Contemporary Art Association implemented establishing network between CSOs and public institutions through Visiting Artist program. Now over to K2 Association to introduce their project. Good morning. Thank you very much for your condolences.
Sanat Derneği koordinatörlüğünde dans ve sanat gösterisi düzenlenecektir. Dans ve sanat gösterisine tüm kasaba halkı misafirine davet edilir.
Tekrar merhabalar. Ben Ayşegül.
My name is Ayşegül Kurtal from KT Contemporary Art Association President. Thank you very much for your wishes. And I also would like to thank you very much for giving this opportunity under this closing event of the grant scheme. And I'd like to thank you very much for all your contributions. And also I'd like to thank the EU delegation to Turkey and the Directorate for EU Affairs for involving us in this grant scheme and also giving the opportunity to Izmir and contemporary arts. The announcement I showed you was the announcement about the program on visiting artists in Nevşehir in Ortahisar. So not only through collaborations and cooperation, but also with its impact on local people, our project had an important contribution. Ortahisar people and Ortahisar municipality were involved in all the stages whenever we need it, just like in the other cities. Just like in the other municipalities and civil society organizations. And also at the entrance of Ortahisar city, the public area was assigned to us with the necessary permits for our performance, and municipality provided the lighting and the cleaning, and also the sound system of the city was used. And starting from the 3 days before the event, it was announced, the program was announced. So the announcement of the event was made to people 3 days before the event in all the occasions such as weddings, and it was a great source of pride for us, and we felt very important. Nevşehir Hacı Bektaş Veli University Fine Arts Faculty Painting Department student Can Sümbül contacted us and participated in our program, and for the first time in his life he had the opportunity to perform modern art. His life also changed. In his first experience on the stage, he performed with an iron tekel. And also in the field of cinema, Yağmur Telli Yücel was also one of the local participants. And he is still in contact with Aydın Teker and also exchanging views regarding the original video contents. Nick Rothwell is a musician that Aydın Teker works on a regular basis and lives in London. Upon the private special invitation of Teker, he came from London to Nevşehir and contributed to the project on a voluntary basis at the end of the 1 week period. Tozuntu, the performance named Tozuntu, specially designed by Aydın Teker, was staged in the public area at the entrance of the Ortahisar Castle. It was performed in a cage in the magical atmosphere of Cappadocia. 100 local people, different ages, watched the performance, and this was an unforgettable experience for us and for people of Ortahisar. And we hosted the guest artists Çanakkale, Diyarbakır, Hatay, Istanbul, İzmir, Mardin, Mersin, Nevşehir, and Sinop. Were selected because they had different characteristics in the field of contemporary arts in order to host visiting guests. Also in these 9 cities, 9 implementers and 28 participating guest artists carried out some different and original performances. They interacted with the ecological, cultural, and sociological aspects of these provinces, these cities. From 9 cities, local artists were also involved in the program, and in total 65 artists, 13 provincial and district municipalities, 10 public institutions, 9 universities, and 59 CSOs initiatives created the synergy which enabled very efficient results. Also, in addition to the artists in the project, the provincial representatives were involved in the videos in order to get their perceptions about the project. Also, the there is another presentation that was started in the pandemic, and it was viewed by 8,000 times. And the social media posts of the project were viewed by more than 150,000 times. I have to note that these are still viewed, and the impact is still ongoing, and we are on a continuous basis. We are continuing our cooperation and communication with these cities. Also, some new artists are added to our network, and also this is just like a waves created by the storm thrown into the water, and this has been a very pleasant process. We had a great team, and we worked excellently, and we can observe the sustainability and impacts of this project. And I also would like to thank all the institutions and organizations that contributed to the implementation of this project. Thank you very much. Now, Foundation for the Support of Women's Work, Strengthening the Capacity of Community-Based Local Organizations for Participation and Advocacy will take the floor. My name is Bahar Yalçın. I'm here for the Foundation for the Support of the Women's Work. I am the coordinator of this project. I would like to show you the video for the introduction of our project, and I can use my time efficiently. The project's name is very long, Strengthening the Capacity of Community-Based Local Organizations for Participation and Advocacy. What we mean by that is that we would like to strengthen the capacity of the organizations that are working in the local field. In Istanbul, Balıkesir, İzmir, Eskişehir, and Antep, we had some contacts with these organizations, and we conducted a survey. And this survey was very important for us, for the whole civil society community. Especially women and young women participate at a lower scale, so they take part in the civil society upon the suggestion of one of their acquaintances. Also, their home chores are very important in that regard, so where they follow the agenda and what they do in a day were also studied in that survey. Care as an important duty and obligation for women that prevents them from participating in society. And women's organizations cannot promote themselves well, and they cannot prove themselves well to raise the voices of women. And also, all these outputs determined our activities later on. And also, 87% of women could not participate in civil society in advocacy activities. This was important for our advocacy efforts. So this data laid the basis for all our activities. And in terms of capacity building, also we need to carry out some capacity building activities and advocacy activities. We try to strengthen the capacity of the civil society organizations, for which we organize some training activities. Also at local level, we try to bring together the civil society organizations and women under these organizations, and 550 women were trained on communication and advocacy. And after each set of training in every province, we created some WhatsApp groups and networks, both with the public sectors and with themselves, with the CSOs in different districts. At a provincial level, they could hold gatherings and meetings. And after the pandemic, another dimension was added. Normally, we were supposed to have some international study visits, but under these extraordinary circumstances, we had online activities for study visits, and more than 1,000 people were gathered in 10 events, online events, and different CSOs in rural development, care, labor, and improving the resilience of neighborhoods, and giving more prominence to cooperatives and impacting public policies. We could hear the experiences of different civil society organizations, which are very important for us. Advocacy is one of the most important areas for us since the beginning of the project, and we participated in the strategic planning processes. Also, 5-year strategic plan was drafted with the involvement of women and at local level through round table meetings, ministries, Ministry of Agriculture, Family, Finance, Strategic Development Directors of the Presidency came together with the CSOs, local CSOs. We had the opportunity to discuss our gaps and obstacles and issues and problems we face. And we wanted to improve the efficiency of cooperation. And we also developed a method for us, for the organizations that we work. So through protocols, we try to ensure the sustainability of such cooperation and communication. So some business models could be developed for the local governments, for care, for disasters. So CSOs can play an active role with municipalities, and they can work together with a method, and they could provide a communication and cooperation method through these protocols. So I would like to thank everyone for their assistance, for their support in these processes, my team, the Directorate for EU Affairs and technical team for supporting us. We hope that we can ensure the sustainability of these processes. We will do our best. I hope you will do your best too, so that we can continue these projects and we can observe the results all together. Thank you.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to give the floor to Tohum Turkey Autism Early Diagnosis and Education Foundation to present their project on strengthening autism network in Turkey project.
Merhaba, ben Tohum Otizm Vakfı'ndan
I'm from Tohum
Nebahat
Autism
Seda
Foundation. My name is
Projeler ve
Nebahat
İş Geliştirme
Öztürk, Projects and Business
Direktörüyüm.
Development Director.
Türkiye Otizm Ağı Güçlendirme Projesi ile son 2
Strengthening
yılda
Autism Network in Turkey project
biz
was
100'ün
implemented
üzerinde
by
Türkiye
our
Otizm
associations.
Meclisi
So
üyesi sivil toplum kuruluşlarının kapasitelerinin geliştirilmesi, kamu
we
STK
aimed at
işbirliğinin otizm odağında
strengthening the capacity of
güçlendirilmesi
more than
ve Ulusal
100
Otizm Eylem
autism
Planı'nın izleme
associations and
mekanizmasının
CSOs
geliştirilmesini
and
amaçladık.
developing the monitoring
Bizim bir
mechanism in
videomuz var.
Turkey for
Ben de video
autism. We have a
üzerinden
video. I would like
fazla
to show the
ilerlemeyi
video
tercih
and then I would
edeceğim.
like to speak.
Eğer açabilirseniz.
If we can
Bir taraftan
show the
projemizin
video. On one hand,
görsellerini de
I also would
sizlere
like to show
aktarmak
you
isteriz.
the
Projemizde bir
images
web
from our
sayfası kurduk.
project. There is a website
otizmtürkiye.org. Şu an
for
onu
our
görüyorsunuz.
project autism.
Bu web sayfasının özelliği Türkiye'de otizm alanında çalışan sivil toplum kuruluşları çok yaygın. Harita
You know that
üzerinden
there are so many
ailelere direkt
CSOs
ulaşarak
working in the field of
adresleri
autism
görebilmesi.
in Turkey, so
Proje
families can
esnasında
find the
yaptığımız
addresses and locations
toplantılardan,
of these
tanıtım
CSOs on the map,
toplantımızdan
directly clicking on the
görüntüleri
map. We had some
görüyorsunuz şu
promotion and
anda.
introductory meetings for our project.
Aslında biz bu projemizde
So
kapasite
in this
güçlendirme
project,
eğitimleri ve koçlukla
we provide
Türkiye Otizm
capacity building
Meclisi'ndeki
training
üye
and
STK'lara
coaching
ulaşmayı hedeflemiştik.
so that we can reach
Ve
out to the
hedefimizde
members,
gerçekleştirdiğimizi
CSOs in the
söyleyebiliriz.
network. And I can tell
Özellikle
you that we
hukuk,
achieved our
savunma,
target,
iletişim,
especially in the
kaynak
field of law,
geliştirme
advocacy, communication, and
konularında
resource development.
güçlenmelerini biz hedefledik.
We wanted to
Onun dışında
build
izleme
their
konusunda da
capacity,
izleme
and
nasıl
also
yapılır,
as
bir
regards
izleme
monitoring,
mekanizması
how
nasıl
monitoring can
kullanılır,
be done, how
bunun da
monitoring
eğitimlerini
mechanism is
online
used. We also
ortamda verme
provided online
fırsatımız
training
oldu.
to those
Ve
CSOs in
sonrasında
Turkey, and
da bir
afterwards,
izleme pilot
a
raporu
monitoring
ortaya
pilot report
çıkardı
was
katılımcılarımız.
drafted by our
Projemizde başarılı
participants.
olduğumuz bir diğer konu da Ulusal
Another
Otizm
point
Eylem
that we were
Planı'nın
successful in the
biz
project was that
önemini, farkındalığını ve
National
hayata geçtiğinde
Autism
otizmlerin
Action
neler
Plan was very
yapabileceğini hedefleyen
important,
kampanyalar
and we wanted
yürüttük.
to
3 Aralık
recreate some
2019'da
campaigns in
ilk
order to raise
kampanyamıza
awareness
başladık. 3 Aralık
about this
2020'de de son
plan, and
kampanyamızı
it was
gerçekleştirdik. Bu
finalized on the
süreçte
3rd
4
of
kampanya
December
yaptık.
2020. So in
Aslında
this period, we
otizmliler
conducted
hayata
4
geçse, biz
campaigns.
hep
So whenever
evdeyiz ve hayata geçsin
autistic people
hashtagleriyle 4
are
farklı
involved in
kampanya yürüttük
society,
ve bu kampanyalarla
they could
toplam
provide
8
contributions to
video
society.
servis
8
ettik biz.
videos were served
Aslında
in 4
kampanyalarımızın
campaigns with
sonuncusunun
different
güzel
hashtags.
bir özeti
And the
olacak
last
şekilde
campaign can
Fox
be
TV'nin sabah
summarized
haberlerinde
on the morning
çıktık.
news
Onun şu anda bir
reports
görüntüsünü size kısaca izletmek isteriz. Çünkü projemiz çok
at
güzel
Fox
özetliyor.
TV channel.
Sesi
That
açabiliriz
video,
burada.
that broadcast summarizes our project very well. This is Dr. Ali Vefa. On the Day of Disabled Individuals, 3rd of December, we can be the one voice for autistic people. National Autism Action Plan should be realized. So autistic individuals should have equal access to social services should take part in all spheres of life independently. So this is a miracle doctor in a soap opera on TV. That doctor is autistic and very successful. And Reha Özcan supports the doctors in order to achieve equal access to all services. So civil society organizations came together, and Aylin Sezgin, the founding vice president of the association and foundation, said that according to the action plan, there are some ministers that have the responsibilities.
Bu kampanyamızı Reha Özcan özellikle
So
seçmemizin
Reha Özcan was
sebebi
selected
Mucize
on
Doktor
a specific
dizisinde
purpose
otizmli bir
because
bireyi
in Mucize Doktor
cesaretlendiren,
soap
onu
opera he
güçlendiren
encouraged an
kişi
autistic
olmasıydı.
individual. He
Biz de
empowered an
çünkü Ulusal
autistic
Otizm
doctor
Eylem Planı bütün
because the
otizmli
National
çocuklar
Autism
için bir adil
Action
hoca
Plan
aslında.
is a kind of
Onların da
adil,
neler
Professor
başarabileceğini,
Adil for
neler
all autistic
yapabileceğini
individuals.
göstermek
So
için
we wanted to
biz
show
bu
what they can
kampanyamızda bu
do.
yüzü
That's why
kullanmayı
we
tercih
used that
ettik.
face in our
Ben çok
campaign.
teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you very much.
Eğer bir sorunuz olursa da
If you
Otizm
have
Vakfı'ndan bana ulaşabilirsiniz
any
projemizle ilgili görüşmek
questions,
için.
you can
Teşekkür
contact me from our foundation to talk about our project. Thank you.
Teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank you very much. Now, under the Partnerships and Network Grant Scheme, we would like to show you a short video compiling the images from 10 projects.
Değerli katılımcılarımız, projelerimizin
Distinguished participants, now we are giving a short break for these stories of projects from the Andalus region of Spain, and in UNESCO's culture heritage list, flamenco dance and music will be presented to you, and the artists from Ankara, Flamenco Ankara Association are excited to be on the stage now. Enjoy the show. Thank you.
Dans ve müzik gösterisi için Flamenco Ankara
We
Derneği'ne
would like to thank Flamenco Ankara Association for this marvelous show. We would like to continue the project stories from where we left. Women Entrepreneurs Association of Turkey implemented Women's Network in Business project, and let's leave them the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, Mr. Ambassador, distinguished heads of departments, and distinguished participants. As Bursa Women Entrepreneurs Association and with Kaiser, we have been implementing Women's Network in Business project. And on behalf of this project, I would like to extend my gratitude to each and every one of you. I'm the project coordinator, Begüm Bayrak. Before talking about the project and the details, we would like to show you a video to introduce our project to you.
Sanıyorum videomuz burada
I think
tamamlandı.
this is the end of the video. Thank you very much. Distinguished participants, you watched some activities, and those activities serve two main objectives. And the first objective was to establish women's network in business world and strengthen that. And the second one, during public tenders, in order to participate, women to participate more. And we wanted to propose a law to be submitted to the parliament. And we revived communication between the women's associations as a result of the activities. We invited Women's Entrepreneurs Associations representative, and we can see the representatives of various associations we invited. Thank you very much for your participation. The second thing, which we thought was an important gap in Turkey, to establish women entrepreneurs database. We established a database for women entrepreneurs in order to ensure women entrepreneurs to be in contact with each other, to share their activities on the portal, to inform each other about the announcements and tenders. We established this database, which turned into a platform. And in 8 provinces, we organized consultation meetings. And with these meetings, we learned about the expectations of women's entrepreneurs in different provinces. And in the publications we prepared, we underlined those needs and expectations, and we shared those publications with the public institutions. And more are here to come. So before the local authorities and before the public institutions, we created and raised awareness concerning the women entrepreneurs. And we hope that the legal proposal we submitted will be enacted. Sustainable development is only possible with equal participation of women in economy. Public and private sector institutions should work in coordination and collaborate. And as a result of that, women's entrepreneurship will be strengthened and there will be more presence by women in the economy. I would like to thank you very much in conclusion on behalf of Kagidar and stakeholder women associations and all women entrepreneurs. Thank you very much. Wish you a fruitful seminar. Thank you very much. Now, Turkey Europe Foundation EU Monitoring Network Project will be presented. Hello, Mr. Minister, Mr. Ambassador, distinguished participants. Under the scope of this project, we are at a closing event, and it's a great pleasure to have implemented this project. Due to the pandemic, there were lots of challenges, but despite them, we have made many achievements. And at the point where we are standing now, we are revealing a current and solid example of what we can achieve as a result of EU funds. Our journey started from a project idea, and with Taxo support, we turned it into a concept, and it was submitted to the EU presidency, and it received support under the Network and Partnerships program. And we identified the diversification of portfolio, and it was an important project that we have undertaken, which started from a technical study visit, and we have contributed to important contributions. European Union, in terms of project social effects, this project contributed to the overall framework, and with respect to monitoring and emphasizing the results, we made significant researches and we prepared guidelines. Due to the loss of impetus in the EU negotiations, there was a slowdown. But despite that, civil society can still make its voices heard through the activities that implements. So we still think that there are some opportunities, and we made a contribution to those relationships. And this project made efforts in order to prepare a new perspective. I worked for many projects and I've gained my perspective, and European Union network monitoring network project, which we abbreviate as ISLAM, has an important role to play concerning the strengthening of this sector. So we are going from IPA 2 to IPA 3, and during this period, CSOs should see this beyond a financial support instrument, because there are some mutual interests and there are some cultural and historical ties, and relationships should also feed those other cultural and historical ties. It is really important to consider all of those. In addition to that, with this opportunity, public and CSO dialogue has manifested itself in many different examples. We have had a lot of project outcomes, and well, on the 18th of December, we are going to organize a closing event, and there is going to be a panel. So I would like to invite you to that panel. So I would like to conclude with that invitation, and I also would like to show you a video, a short 2-minute video, in order to provide you more information concerning our project. So I would like to thank all the contributors. I would like to thank EU Presidency, EU delegation to Turkey, and I also would like to thank other public institutions and stakeholders which have supported us. So thank you very much. Let's see the video now.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to leave the floor to Hrant Dink Foundation towards a new discourse and dialogue project. Hello, my name is Ezgi Khan. I'm the project coordinator for Towards a New Discourse and Dialogue project at Hunting Foundation. So I would like to show you some photographs. Our project covers public institutions and media sector, and we wanted to raise awareness concerning discriminative discourse and dialogue concerning the Syrian refugees. Discrimination and hate speech against the Syrian refugees lead to normalization of discrimination, and that leads to exacerbation. So that also complicates our lives further. So we as Granting Foundation, we want to underline the importance of a pluralistic and inclusive discourse. 8 panels have been organized, and we invited European journalists and media representatives, Giorgio Kamenes, Menyat Dama from Council of Europe. Important figures participated in these platforms. With COVID-19, we discussed about the situation of refugees and to fight against dissemination and discrimination. We also used creative methods such as cinema and other creative methods, and we also used online methods. We organized workshops with the Council of Europe. We have a short video concerning the training sessions we organized in Hatay, Şanlıurfa, and Istanbul. We implemented some important activities, and you can see this video concerning the activities we have implemented under the scope of this project. We are going to talk about discrimination. We are going to talk about discrimination against different groups of identities. We are going to talk about refugees. So prejudice talks about attitudes where parties have lack of respect, and discrimination is the behavior that manifests itself as a result of those approaches.
Siz eğer eşitlik üzerine bir söylem kurgulayabiliyorsanız,
if you can structure your discourse on equality and if you can be rights-based, then that is the most critical thing you can do.
Bu eğitimlere Aralık ayında...
So we organized training sessions in December with public and media and CSO representatives. We continue with these training sessions, and teachers and municipalities had a lot of interest. Fighting against hate speech and discrimination is a long road that we have to cover, but it is important to create a new discourse for those who are working in the front line with the refugees. We believe that we showed them some instruments and we have given them new approaches. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much. Now I'll leave the floor to White Cane Association for the Visually Impaired for their Civilant Antalya Civil Platform. Now going to Antalya to listen to their project and their achievements. Greetings from a Mediterranean day. Greetings from Antalya with a lot of sunshine. My name is Hakan Şimşek. So I would like to ask the technical team to show the video. I work for White Cane Association for the Visually Impaired, and I am the spokesperson for the Civilant project. My name is Hakan Şimşek. So I would like to talk about Antalya, and Civilant is the only EU-supported city project of Antalya. I would like to thank the stakeholders, and I also thank EU presidency, the team of the presidency, and I also would like to thank the team of the CFCU. I also would like to thank the technical assistance team for their support and contribution. Our time is very limited. I'm going to show you a video, and while doing that, I'm going to talk about the objectives and instruments of this project that we have implemented. Under the scope of the projects, under Civilant, there are some instruments and objectives which I would like to present to your attention. The first one is Civilant CSO Academy. So where we organize trainings needed by the CSOs, and we also worked to increase the capacity. It was considered as an incubation center. Civiland training sets were provided during the face-to-face trainings for CSOs. And on the other hand side, through the internet, we also made them available for larger groups. Another instrument is Civiland Dialogue Days. Dialogue Days is a 2-day activity. On day 1, NGOs, public institution representatives and mayors, decision makers were brought together. On day 2, CSO representatives were given training on Civiland Academy. The purpose of the dialogue days was to bring CSOs with private and public sector representatives, academics and mayors and municipal representatives so that they can develop mutual dialogue. One of the original instruments of our project is Civiland platforms, active citizens, philanthropists, volunteers and students. 3 main groups initiated this group, and these tokens of appreciation are given to these 3 main groups, and we are trying to disseminate the volunteer approach. So in 2019 and 2020, so far, we organized ceremonies 2 times to provide tokens of appreciation. Civiland Festival is another original instrument organized under the scope of project, and that also academic training. And it provides an opportunity for all participants to join. And it refers to a 4-day activity where clustering is possible. Civil Festival of Civiland has the purpose of CSOs, academia representatives, public authority, private sector representatives to work together so that they can develop project ideas together. Another instrument is Civiland Young Volunteers Summit. Just like in the festival, Civiland Dialogue Days and Civiland Academy trainings are covered by this summit. And this is a 3-day youth workshop. And Civiland, in Youth Summit, presentations are made, and there are also dialogue and training activities with leaders of authorities. So we also try to encourage academics to engage in CSOs and try to encourage and promote young people to become members and active workers of CSOs. I would like to talk about web portal of Civiland. It is interactive and it works to provide information and documents to the CSOs. It is a virtual meeting point of the CSOs. It is a kind of social network at Civiland.org. You can visit this website and follow the developments. Very briefly, there are some added values created by Civiland, which would conclude my words. The main actors, the Office of the Governor, public authorities, municipalities, universities, NGOs, and they meet on the Antalya civil platform. So vertical and horizontal integration are ensured. So in diversity, Civiland joins forces and it takes its source of power from the local dynamics. Civiland is not an interest group. It's not a pressure group. On the contrary, it is trying to solve the problems of disadvantaged groups, and for that, it is an interface working to bring together many parties. Civiland members work as volunteers and the members work as facilitators or mentors. In another word, Civiland tries to bring CSOs with public authorities, private sector representatives, universities, municipalities, and other institutions so that there can be a solid ground established for their future collaboration. It brings together parties, philanthropy, voluntary approaches are promoted, and by doing that, Civiland contributes to social solidarity and also tries to promote public interest as a concept. I would like to underline the public interest as a concept. Civiland also tries to share the burden of disadvantaged groups, and it tries to establish a working culture and awareness raising. And especially university students are encouraged to work as volunteers so that they can integrate with the city they are living in and they can develop an ownership of the projects to solve them possibly. So thank you very much for sparing us time. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank everyone, all the contributors and supporters. Greetings from Antalya.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you. And finally, we'd like to give the floor to Vehbi Koç Foundation for the Social Entrepreneurship Project of Turkey. Over to you. Thank you and good morning. My name is Gonca Onkak from Koç University Social Impact Forum, Managing Director. I'm from Social Entrepreneurship Network. I'm the project coordinator together with my colleagues. And our objective was for 2 years to promote the social entrepreneurship project of Turkey. We are the ones working in this field, all of us. And before we started the project, we started as a network of 15 organizations that are dedicated to this field all around Turkey. And also in Turkey, in order to promote social entrepreneurship, improvement of the ecosystem, development of ecosystem, and healthy growth of the ecosystem was needed. Local networks, capacity building, and also know-how transfer to other regions from Istanbul, Ankara, and the capacity should be also shared with the other regions by those big centers. So in this scope, we organized important programs, but as regards capacity building, one of the activities that we implemented was training of trainers. Rather than going to each city to train the participants, we invited some people, social entrepreneurs who are willing to work in this field, were invited and brought together in the training of trainers. I would like to share a story with you regarding how we developed the capacity, also how we wanted to disseminate these examples, these practices. I'd like to show you a young colleague from Van participating in the training of trainers. I would like to show the video about the story of Hümeysa, who was a participant in our TOT. I am the founder of Rumi Social Entrepreneurship Association. We are developing and designing these products, and with the profit we obtain, we provide the opportunity to the young people who do not have the opportunity to work part-time, and we also provide financial support to women. I want to create equal opportunities in one province and establish Rumi based on my own story, because I was unemployed when I graduated. So I understood that I have to go back to my own region and use the local products there. And I wanted to decrease the discrepancies, inequalities in my region with my team. We produced lots of products and sold them, and many young people benefited from our project. So we have a team of 12 people who generate economic income. We received our orders from America, and we are going to export our products to the USA. So we want to create a world brand from one, and we want to give the opportunity to everyone to use their own means and products to eliminate the lack of opportunity and find equal opportunity. We want to show this to the whole world, everyone. Thank you. Rümeysa is continuing to develop Rumi, which is a social enterprise. Also, just like her, Feridun is another entrepreneur, social entrepreneur in Van, who participated in the project, and also the Eastern Anatolia Development Agency recruited them as trainers. So the knowledge they learn is transferred to people in Van, to university students in Van and in the region through our platform, through our network of social entrepreneurship. Just like Rümeysa and Feridun, we wish that we will see more social entrepreneurs. So we created our platform, a social entrepreneurship network. On the web, we have a web page. You can check our web page, and so social entrepreneurs will continue contacting and communicating through that website, and local networks were created. This was very pleasant to see. Also, Bursa Social Entrepreneurship Network was created, and they're having their meetings now. So to conclude, I'd like to say that strong networks mean strong bonds and connections, and I would like to commemorate Professor Ahmet from Erciyes University. So Social Entrepreneurship Network uses the platform to accept their members. We have 2,000 members, and also by improving our institutional capacity, we will continue contributing to the ecosystem, recruit new members, grow, and establish partnerships. Thank you.
Teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank you. Distinguished participants, we are getting closer to the end of our program. And now, for the brief and short evaluation of the Partnerships and Network Grant Scheme, Jare Velibeyoğlu is kindly invited to the floor, please.
Hepiniz burada olsaydınız, keşke bu müzik eşliğinde.
I wish we didn't have this pandemic. I wish you were here. I wish we had you face to face here for the closing event. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to hold this online closing event. And we had a great time of 2 years under this grant scheme on partnerships and networks. And initially, I was questioning how we were going to succeed. But of course, I understood in time all the steps we took were valuable. We had great achievements. Sometimes we got bored. Sometimes we got sad and upset. In the pandemic, we didn't know what to do. We wanted to stop the projects. We got excited that we discussed with Oktay Bey, Hakan Bey, the director for EU affairs, that we said that, okay, we can continue and all the projects can have great achievements, and great achievements were already obtained by these projects. We are always at home. And we are reading at home was developed in this process, in this pandemic. The projects were sustained and continued. They had great achievements. I'd like to thank and acknowledge all of them. Not only them, but also the CFCU, the Directorate for EU Affairs, for providing their contributions to us as civil society organizations, for giving this opportunity to us. Of course, the deliverables are great, results are great. Now it's time for the ensuring of the sustainability of these results. So I'd like to thank everyone who were involved in this process, and I kind of request you to use the digital tool developed by TESEV. We live somewhere, we are affiliated to a municipality. The municipalities have their strategic plans which are related to our lives. Please watch them, monitor them, participate in them. And in Şişli municipality, I always contact them. I write to them. I just monitor what they do. Please do so. Kagider promotes women's entrepreneurship and to take part in the public procurement, and they proposed a bill. Of course, we do not have to be a member of Kagider. As all women, we have to support that. Tohum should be supported. We do not have to necessarily have an autistic child. Not necessarily, but of course we should work for all of them. We should support that campaign for all of the autistic individuals. The National Autism Action Plan should be supported. We should do our best to achieve it, please, because if we do so, the results will be obtained. Please, all of us should support it. So when I went to the reading culture event, I said, I like reading, my son doesn't like reading. And they told me that he doesn't have to necessarily read Tolstoy. When he reads something on the internet, an article on the internet, this is a reading culture. It made me very happy. I'm sure that it will make all of the parents happy. So everyone should continue that project and contribute to that project. And think. So we are getting very bored when we hear news from Germany. 2 Turkish people robbed a bank. And they do not say in German that two robbers robbed the bank. So we should learn how to do so. We should not use the ethnicity in our statements. Of course, I need to pay attention to all of the projects. So when I heard the sound of the announcement for monitoring of K2, K2 showed us that contemporary art is not performed at the centers only. It can be performed at local level as well, in Cappadocia, in Ürgüp, in even very tiny and small towns and cities. And they could establish close relations with municipalities. All these growing cities, networked by TAV and Civil Ant, because they owned their own city. They all empowered us. Of course, we need to ensure their sustainability, because with these networks and bridges we establish and solidarity, we can be stronger. So you can be stronger with two hands, not with one hand. If you want to have a say, if you want to raise our voice, if we want to do something, civil society organizations and volunteers and everybody should be behind it. And also, I'd like to thank all my grant projects, and they should definitely continue their path. And we have bills, policy documents and policy papers. Please keep on watching us, and also the Directorate for EU Affairs. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jale Hanım. Distinguished guests and distinguished audience, now for the closing remark, I would like to give the floor to the Director General for Financial Cooperation and Project Implementation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Director for EU Affairs, Mr. Bülent Özcan. Distinguished civil society organizations and distinguished members of the family of Partnerships and Networks Grant Scheme and distinguished representatives of the grant scheme, on behalf of our directorate and on behalf of the ministry, I would like to extend my greetings to each and every one of you. As underlined by all the participants and speakers, this is the end of the last day of a long journey. We are closing the grant scheme now. We wish we had the opportunity to come together face to face. We should feel the same enthusiasm as we had in the opening event. Unfortunately, because of this pandemic that we are going through, prevented us from holding face-to-face closing event. But it's a great pleasure for us to see you all here, to be with you here on this closing event, even though it is online. It's a great pleasure for us to see your achievements, great and excellent achievements in this process. It was a great pleasure for all of us. So in this long journey, when I followed the program, I also listened to the civil society organizations presenting their projects. So I noticed that we were right in feeling the enthusiastic initially. So when civil society works together, when they are giving the opportunity, when they are giving the funds, when they work hand in hand with the public sector, we could see now what they can obtain, what they can achieve, how far they can move. So 10 valuable civil society organizations presented valuable results with us. So from this perspective, I would like to thank everyone for their contributions and civil society organizations for their support and for their efforts and contributions and for their joint work and collaboration with us. The Networks and Partnerships Grant Scheme is one of the most significant, valuable, important grant schemes that we implemented so far. Why? Because from our perspective, we had low number of projects, but which were all valuable. We had higher financing opportunities compared to the previous opportunities. Also, compared to the previous years, we would support the locomotive CSOs. And of course, we were expecting the sectors to have some important results in their respective sectors and to work in collaboration with the public sector. So we wanted to support such projects. In our selection, we had fewer projects, but we had some meetings with the EU delegation to Turkey, and as a result of the positive and constructive approach of the EUD and also the support of the CFCU, we increased the number of the projects to 10. We are glad to increase it to 10 because we had the opportunity to finance very valuable projects. As mentioned by Jale Hanım and Hakan Bey in their talks. Of course, this is not an end to our journey. Of course, these projects are finalized, completed, but of course we will continue these activities under the civil society support program. As the Directorate for EU Affairs, we will do our best in order to ensure their sustainability. We will continue our support. Of course, this is going to be a hard journey because there are some political issues between the EU and Turkey, contrary to the last years. This also affects the projects and schemes and programs. We have a new opportunity in this new period because we are finalizing the periods of 2014-2020. It is the IPA 2 phase. Now we are going into IPA 3, 2021 and 2028. So the civil society organization will benefit from this new period because civil society will continue its activities as a sector under this new IPA phase 3, and the Directorate for EU Affairs will be the leading organization for these grant schemes. We are undertaking some preliminary work for the new project ideas, especially for partnerships and networks for CSOs. In order to continue similar programs, we developed our projects and submitted them to the European Union. We are expecting their feedback. As the Deputy Minister mentioned in the beginning of the program, this is a challenging and harsh time for us, because the political relations, unfortunately, are affected negatively, and such political relations affect such programs and schemes as well. Unfortunately, if a civil society sector does not continue in non-central structure, if it is sustained by the European Union, maybe such programs will not be able to implement it by us. But nevertheless, we will continue our struggle. We want to give you good news, and we will continue our activities to give you the good news, because we observe that whatever we do in the civil society, it may be partnerships networks, it may be a local CSOs program. So all of these schemes have valuable results and deliverables, outputs. When we give the chance to civil society organizations and the opportunity to civil society organizations, when we open the path to them, we can see, we all witnessed how great achievements they can have. So these 10 valuable projects are the most important signal for that, as I mentioned before. As the European Union Affairs Directorate, in the EU accession process, we want to support civil society, to work with the civil society. In the next period, we will also continue working. But of course, the public sector has to take several steps. In the public sector, collaboration with the CSOs and to converge civil society to public sector is important. Especially the achievements and experience from these 10 projects should be owned by different public bodies and institutions, which will be supported by us. We try to support them as well. It is not easy, but of course, there are some public institutions and bodies that we can work together and move forward together. We could organize some joint programs and schemes together, but of course, this is not enough for that reason. Altogether, to strengthen civil society in Turkey in the next period, we need to work further and more. In this grant scheme, we saw that when civil society organizations work together, establish networks and partnerships, when they can work in a network, they are more stronger and they can raise their voice more strongly. For that reason, for the civil society sector, we need to raise our voices more strongly altogether. Also in the public sectors, we need to ensure the active involvement of civil society, and this more support should be provided to civil society organizations. We should do our best in order to create this agenda. We should continue working together, and we need to work more strongly together, because we have all the necessary infrastructure for that. First and foremost, in the 11th development plan of Turkish civil society is considered as a specialized sector, and a specialized report was drafted, strengthening of the society, civil society, public sector collaboration, and also improvement of legislation on civil society, strengthening of networks and partnerships are the priorities set in the 11th development plan of Turkey. So this is one of the most important plans of the Republic of Turkey. Until 2023, this development plan will be implemented, and in that plan, civil society is a priority in that plan. But of course, unfortunately, this should not be limited to the paper. I mean, should not stay on the shelves. I mean, we need to implement that. Maybe in the previous schemes, we also underlined that civil society should have some platforms where they can talk together, and the presidency platform or the presidency boards are important. Maybe another board can be established for civil society, or civil society representatives can be involved and incorporated in the existing boards of the presidency. Such demands should be obtained and some research should be conducted. That's why we need to evaluate the next period well. Also, civil society should be involved in the parliamentary processes as well. And in the next period, in the next phase, civil society should raise its voice. It should do the lobbying activities for that. And the pandemic process showed us very clearly that, of course, the state, with all the mechanisms and all the bodies and institutions it has, tried to mitigate the negative impacts of the pandemic. But on the other hand, it's not possible to meet all the needs. This is not applicable to the Republic of Turkey, but also to the other countries in the world. We saw that all together. But of course, amid the pandemic, the civil society's importance became more clear, and the support of civil society is necessary, as we observed. For that reason, the importance of CSO was better understood by the public sector in this pandemic. So in the next period, let's all together talk about these issues and matters. Let's hear and raise the voice of civil society more, and take into consideration civil society more and involve them in decision-making platforms, processes through some platforms altogether through European Union projects. I hope that we can work together in these EU projects. So I'd like to thank everyone for everyone who contributed to today's organizations. We started at 10 a.m. today, 10:30 a.m. and we're about to finalize this closing event, and it has been a very pleasant time for us. We have been here for more than 2 hours, even though it is online from all around Turkey. We have some representatives from CSOs. I'd like to thank you very much for your attendance. But of course, the Partnerships and Networks grant scheme is a specific and special program, and very distinguished colleagues took part in this grant scheme. So I would like to thank our colleagues from the Director for EU Affairs, Hakan Bey, Project Implementation Department, and his team, and also all Project Implementation Department's staff. Thank you very much for your contributions and efforts. Of course, technical assistance team, Jale Hanım, team leader, and work together with you, and also key experts that work with you in these projects, and also other experts in the consortium. Thank you very much for your efforts and support and contributions. Once again, in this process, we were not alone. Always we received the constructive and positive approach from the Central Finance and Contracts units. Also, secondly, in this process, in order to improve the efficacy and effectiveness of these programs and the schemes, and for increasing the budget of the scheme, and also of giving the opportunity to finance more projects, the European Union delegation to Turkey and their experts. Thank you very much. And also, I hope that we can come together again under different grant schemes and EU projects. But as I mentioned before, this is not an end. As a Director for EU Affairs, we will continue supporting the activities of these projects under the grant scheme for partnerships and networks, and strengthening cooperation between public sector and CSOs in order to ensure sustainability. Once again, thank you very much for your attendance, for your interest, for your efforts, for your struggle, for your products, for your services to society. And thank you very much, 10 civil society organizations involved in our grant scheme for partnerships and network. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Director General. Distinguished